Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Unstuck Pod. I appreciate you joining today. Really excited to have Michael Howard here from Protegrity. I'm going to hand it over to Michael to introduce himself, tell you a little bit about his journey and the company, and go from there. So, Michael, welcome.
But Jamie, that's some introduction there to help me out. So I have to self bootstrap, jumpstart myself. I just got back from a general kickoff for the company, and I'm kind of reeling from the participation, which included inebriation and deep thought on AI. But my journey here today is an eclectic one in that I'm kind of like a second generation Silicon Valley guy, and I consider first generation people like Larry Ellison and Bill Gates and all the legends that we know about. I'm what's called second generation, but as such, I got to meet many of these people and learn from them. And so my journey really starts from those people in Berkeley, whether it be at Oracle or working at EMC or dealing with Apple, a whole bunch of places, and covering such topics as databases, AI, and analytics. And I'm coming back to one of my points in my career, which is called data security or AI security, and that's what Protegrity is all about. Like I was saying earlier to you, that we're all on this AI transformational boat, and we're all learning together. And it's a very exciting times and a very profound set of times today.
So can you? Fascinating what when you also go back to Silicon Valley and when we look at what transformation is and the kind of innovations and the things that have come about and what the world looked like really not that long ago. Call it, I say, pre-internet, even pre-computers, like really not that long ago. So let's talk about AI because I think a lot of people are excited, nervous, unclear. How do you see that and the transformation associated with that compared to some of the other technologies that you've seen come about over the last, I don't even want to pick a time frame, but just some
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
other
yeah.
technologies you've seen.
I mean, and we could get Angie's perspective on this because she's sort of part of this transformation. I've been in the AI world since the late 90s, so that's why
Wow.
it's been a long thing for me. And how did I get involved with AI? At Oracle, I led the acquisition of a company called Thinking Machines for Oracle, which was one of the first MPP scale out hardware configurations to support decision trees, Bayesian nets, neural nets at a vast scale. And at that point, a vast scale was maybe a couple of terabytes,
Yeah.
right? Nothing compared to today. And when I think about when I was leading that acquisition, I was so excited to bring a new formula to the Oracle world. And I remember Larry Ellison in the elevator with me actually shaking my hand, which was a very different experience than all the meetings I typically had with him, where he would point out, eviscerate, I would say, eviscerate any intellectual or personal failing. So that
Right.
was stands out in the elevator. But whereas today, if I were to juxtapose that feeling to today's feeling, and maybe Angie could speak for herself. Every time I do an interview with someone, let's say for a sales job or a marketing job or even an engineering job, everybody is fearful of the future. No one knows what's going to happen. And the people in the AI companies who are bubble wrapped and secured by the RSUs and options that they have therein, I think are extremely disconnected to the discontent and the worries that we all have. I don't know, Angie, you want to speak for yourself on that one?
Well, for sure. I mean, my perspective as a millennial straddling the world of analog to internet to all the dystopian future in pop culture related to AI, it isn't a surprise that it's met with fear and trepidation. But then, even as someone who has to adapt, of course, the initial reaction is fear because what does that mean? What does that mean for my value within an organization? Am I going to be replaced? You see those reports that come in about, oh, X amount of employees and the software industry is being hit the hardest in terms of job loss because AI is taking those. So yeah, the first thought is, well, what is my survival? What does the path to survival look like? What do I have to do? And so if a company that I'm in is more about empowering me or enabling me to take on just like new skill sets because of AI, not for the mindset of like adapt or, you're going to get replaced, then it's a little bit different, right?
I think it's, I've never, interestingly, I've worked in software for a long time. I work with a ton of companies that are in the AI space and have never seen so much confusion and uncertainty just about what is it going to be, what's it going to mean. I thought, and so I would echo the statements. It's very interesting to see what that is. No one seems to know. It's off putting from that perspective. I do want to go back. I did tell you that I looked at in particular, one of the blog articles that you had written. And I like the idea of as another extinction event, right? It was
Right.
sort of like, if I was going to take something away from it, it was when you sort of did it in the longitudinal view of what is this and how many times have we been here before? And I'm still trying to I just want to make sure that I'd love to give you your thoughts around. I'd love to hear your thoughts, Michael, about how is this? Is this different? What do you think?
I think it is different because the past extinctions have been mechanical ones. And this one is about who you are and what you bring to the world. In other words, it's a event that goes deeply into what we hope to become as experts in something, whether it be in writing, whether it be in coding, whether it be in marketing, whether it be in articulation, whatever context there. And none of the other extinction events, whether it was about real estate or mortgages or different paradigms in computing, there was always a mechanical replacement of the former, not an obliteration of let's say the notion of expertise and talent. So my thinking is that the new world order has to think very differently about how to secure oneself in the future. I have one concept that I call knowledge arbitrage, and I think that the culture is going to have to change in terms of how to have yourself compete with literally with models, right? And now for someone like me, when I compare, and this is an odd statement, right? When I compare myself to the thinking of a language model, small or large, there's no competition still. And I can say that with either chutzpah or hubris or some degree of empirical facts. And that's because of the vast experience that I, as an OG of Silicon Valley, have. But when I think of people who are just joining the fray, like Angie, who's in the beginning of her career, it's a different story.
Here, let me take that to, you've just came back from, being inebriated and other things in Mexico. so, but I do want to talk. So here you are talking about transformation, taking the company. Because again, we can go way out there, and believe me, I'm comfortable actually doing that. I actually enjoy it, but for the sake of how to think about it in a practical sense, here you are in front of the company. You've got people working for you. How do these conversations manifest? Yeah, what do you do? What does that look like?
Yeah, and there's some good news there, rather than being dystopian, as Angie put it. In order to you have to have your folks be motivated about what they're doing and where they're going, right? You with this pressure, this compression that is happening, you have to devise ways to be more knowledgeable, be more competitive, be more curious, be more motivated. And the only way to do that is to break the walls, the walls of this new religion, right? Just obliterate them, okay? And have them have peace with the technology. We built a really incredible educational foundation in the company for people to become bilingual, for lack of a better word, to be bilingual in normal state of things and to be bilingual in the AI state of things, right? And that bilingualism is really, I think, helping people grasp this transformational challenge that's going on. Angie, I think you were part of that, right?
Yes. Yep. And I think that it's so important to expose people in a non-technical role as I am in marketing. There is a little bit of a distance between the technology and even just the whole world of what are the engineers doing, or what does it mean to vibe code? Those things, again, initially scary, but when you want your company, as in, me being part of it, to be part of the story and not just kind of on the sidelines promoting it somewhere, to actually have some ownership of it. There was this whole initiative to get smart initiative on AI. So we put on AI labs. We spent a week going into building our own models and everything, and understanding, like, where does it fail? Where does it break? Is it going to be perfect? These were all really interesting things to me. And also going back to that word empowering, it really was, because it's like, oh, look at me, a marketer actually going in and coding, and it's really interesting to see that number one is not this is not just a like an exercise or a thing to do, but it's something that actually matters, right? It matters and a large scale, and then not just accessible to me, but to all the customers that need it.
So Angie, because back to that point where you ended off, also, like, I want to talk about, Michael said, safety, right? So data and AI safety or security, right? Security, excuse me. But I put the two together, and you say this matters. You learn stuff, you see it, you're marketing, and it's valuable to a customer. Help me, like, what do you know now that you didn't know before that helps you think differently about what you guys are doing with your clients and where that goes?
At a very micro level, minor tweaks to the things that you input will have a large impact. What the model knows can be wrong, and that can result in a very big sorry moment, in which case AI safety is so important. Because if you are sorry and you make a mistake, and you'd have the rework is such a large, it is a big deal. It's a reputational, cost. It's a time cost. It's a financial cost. I went through this whole exercise of trying to understand the business value of what Protegrity does, and what value do we deliver to the world. And it wasn't until this whole AI Labs initiative that I fully understood, okay, maybe right now we aren't in that space where we can fully put measurable numbers into what we're doing and why it's important. But we have customers that are doing these large scale things. We have an airline customer who it's a platform that services all these different airlines, and we all fly. So the impact is great for anyone who flies. If there's a mistake that impacts your travel, your personal information, the workflows that are, what do I call it? Like chain of custody or anything like that. These are all things that impact individual people, and not just, money, or not just this company wants to. And let's be real, AI is not a product, right? It's not the value of the AI initiative to a company is like, so I can do more automated things. It's so I can solve customers' problems. And if you aren't protecting that and you make one little mistake, that could be huge. And so I know I rambled on about that, but it became real to me in that sense.
I mean, it's so heartening to me to hear Angie speak like that, because probably 2 weeks ago she couldn't speak like that. So that's how fast things are going.
Yep.
And the cultural attributes of a company or a household, right? I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's a professional organization or a personal organization at this point. There is a new relationship with the new world order that has to be attained.
So look, for you guys, you started in this space and you're talking about the idea of security. And Angie's specific example was around, if you make a mistake, as a client using AI, it's a real problem. So to me, you think about it in the context of we got it wrong, or you think about it in the context of what if the information we have gets out, or how do we control things? How do you think about this? Because it feels like as soon as you open the door to AI, the variables multiply so significantly that the problems can multiply with it as well.
Yeah, and that's a profound statement there, in that the multiplier effect is almost infinite. So if you just go back a couple of weeks with Mythios, you have essentially not a security alert in terms of software security, a security alert in terms of the world order. right? I mean, whatever we say about the White House, they're alarmed. The Defense Department is alarmed. You have the bad guys in China, Russia, North Korea now just salivating because they can use these fantastically powerful models to attack every which way and create um, absolute confusion on what to do. Every CFO, right? Every CFO today is told either by the board of the company or their CEO that they have to become more efficient. And the way you become more efficient is through AI. And yet you have this conundrum here where you have things like memorization, gradient leakage, you have a prompt injection, data poisoning. I mean, it's truly unbelievable. So Protegrity um, it is in an amazing position because its existential definition is to protect data, protect knowledge, protect information, right? And we do it in a very fundamental way, such that even with the power coming from Claude, cannot overwhelm. I'm gonna say it like the watermark that we build into data. It's impervious to those attacks. And the security model of yesteryear, where you have giant companies like Cisco or Juniper or what have you, where they're always worried about some kind of like the defense of the what is it? What did Harry Potter, the defense of the dark arts, right? Was around the perimeter of the
Right.
Hogwarts, right? Well, guess what? You got to get inside the walls now and protect it from there because the world order has changed. It's now you have to protect, your recipe for a given, I don't know, like wizard. What would you call it? I don't even know all the ones in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you got to protect your recipes, your own wizard recipes, right?
So let me ask, I want to, so clearly, as you said, it's a unique opportunity and a unique
Unique
time, and you're
opportunity.
super well positioned. But let me talk positioned for a second, because the world is changing so fast. People say, I have to use AI. They don't know what they don't know about the risks because they change literally, as you said, like here we are only in the last few weeks, it's changed dramatically. How hard is it to build a company when you're talking and you're trying to describe what you do and how you change things and where you are, when the world that the entire foundation upon which that is built is shifting daily?
Yeah. Yeah. Again, Jamie, excellent point. When I joined Protegrity, I thought I would have somewhere in the neighborhood of an 18-month window to get the company to a point where I felt comfortable with it in terms of the capabilities needed for this onslaught that AI has. And when Claude or Anthropic announced its ability to parse code and find vulnerabilities, let's say 100x faster than existing man-based or human-based methods. And even though it didn't have any direct impact to Protegrity, the hammer came down and I realized there's no more 18 months. And the velocity of change now is not, let's say, every 6 months. I mean, you could almost call it a weekly cadence at this point. The note in software, we have notions of sprints and things like and agile programming that has been upended because of this velocity of change. And of course, this seeps into how you manage people, the job descriptions that you have, how you even think of whether or not a particular employee is doing well or not, right? Because every this whole context has changed. And therefore, the first thing that you have to do is you start small and think big. You first get a small group, coterie, a group of people in the company who can be the linchpin for everyone else to leverage. So several months ago, I created an AI tiger team in the company, 15, 20 people, something like that, real small, and just and inundated them with every possible angle. Rather than going after the whole company, start small, think big. Then that group started the AI labs that Angie was referring to. And so they started wanting to kind of show their strength. And once you have a group of people that are in the know, then change of the velocity that I've just mentioned becomes a little less onerous because your ability to assimilate now has been strengthened and accelerated. And so the fear of change is almost like you're part of that ethos rather than against the grain.
I mean, these people and some of the people in the Tiger team, they're my peers, and that did make it more relatable and accessible. It wasn't just a group of people who were already in the know.
It's a very interesting cultural thing,
Yeah,
right?
it's cultural, right?
It just, where you would everybody would before everyone had a swim lane. Angie in marketing swim lane didn't need to know about fine tuning or prompting a model. Now they do.
No, and you're essentially what's fascinating is you what I heard, what I hear from you is sure, there's a lot of things that have to happen, but the first thing that you tackle was it's cultural change to around change, right? So it's how do we increase the pace of change and the approach to change so dramatically because the world around us is changing so fast and in a way that we can't possibly anticipate. So we've got to adapt completely. So again, putting process in place, not helpful. Changing culture, helpful. And then that
Yep.
can then apply
Right.
itself to
Change
process.
the change has to be embraced and
Yeah,
enjoyed to
yeah,
just to some degree,
love
right?
it.
And yeah,
I love that.
and I feel, as a CEO, I'll be honest with you, I never really cared that much about that. Culture, everyone talks about culture. Well, let's have a great culture and everyone's happy and everyone's productive. But when it came down to it, culture came down to whether or not a company was successful or not. The
Right.
culture was, are you making money or not making money? And everything in between is kind of like irrelevant. Here, AI has forced a different mentality on culture. You can't just think about making money first. You got to put your talent first. There's a negative side to this is if like let's say Angie or someone like her gave the AI labs the Heisman, right? Said or let's say in a perfunctory way went into it and it's not embraced. The negative side of this is that you are going to what is it called? Separate the wheat from the chaff. It's going to happen.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, listen, but that's a choice, right? That's quite
That's their
Darwinian,
choice.
right? That's
That's
a
their.
Darwinian, right? Like it
It's a
is survival of
Darwinian.
the fittest, right? If you want to
Yeah.
choose to not go there and learn and adapt and evolve, you're toast, right? And I think that's
You're
a very
Mhm.
relevant, good way to think about it. Listen, this is for me. This has been awesome. I love this, and we could go on and on and on. It's a matter of how much patience and attention span the folks are who listen. But Michael, I would love for you to, if you wouldn't mind, just if you could give advice to others out there who are running companies, who are building, the next, hopefully the next big companies that could have been in Silicon Valley, but could be anywhere now. What advice would you give? Would you pass on?
what advice would I pass on? Don't ever become a CEO. That would be the first thing.
It's a good one.
People believe that being a CEO is a great thing, and it's a very complicated job because the geological plates are always changing, whether it be the board, the people, your peers. But that would be one piece of advice, right? But what I would say that in this new world order, right? When you're building a company or building up your own pedigree, so to speak, double down on what you want to do. I mean, just go all in, all in. Going halfway in is not going to do it, and there's gonna be that's what's gonna take. You have to go all in, and if you can't do that, then try something else.
Great advice. So, listen, this has been fantastic. I love it. I want to thank Michael, Angie. It was really great insight. I love the discussion. And to everybody who was watching, listening, appreciate it. Until next time. Thanks.
Well, thank you